This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Welcome to the Saturday lunch show with me, Famida Choudhary, on Teachers Talk Radio. Today we are diving into a question many school leaders face, but few pause to reflect on. What does it truly mean to lead with purpose in today's educational landscape?
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Saturday lunch show with me, Famida Choudhary. And yes, joining me is Barry Cooper, a seasoned school leader who has worked across England, Scotland, China, Dubai, and now leads the Global College in Madrid. Barry believes schools are more than systems, they are collections of relationships, and I couldn't agree more. So today's conversation isn't just about leadership, it's about meaningful leadership. I want to start with this quote that the function of leadership is to produce more leaders, not more followers. So, Barry, welcome to the show. And I'm just going to start off with the first thing like in a world of constant change, policies, tech disruptions, post pandemic shifts, how do you stay anchored in purpose?
Anchored in purpose. Anchored in purpose is a really interesting one for me. Thank you first of all for having me on the show. I think what we do in schools is very much about young people, and I think when you anchor yourself in the purpose of taking them forward and creating better outcomes for the students you have in front of you, whether you're a classroom teacher, a classroom assistant, a cafe manager, a receptionist, or an executive head of a group of schools, I think you cannot go wrong. I think it's always incumbent on us to put very simple things at the heart of what we do. I think teaching is something that can become intensely complicated. And I think all of us who've worked in a classroom know that every day is a 1,000 to 10,000 individual moments that we're taking part in. But if what we do always comes back to that very simple requirement, how did I make someone's life better today? I think we can't go wrong.
Absolutely. So I think we've started off right, quite right, like the simple intention, basically, and having that purpose that we're going to be changing lives in the children that are under our care. So that very purpose keeps us going, right?
Well, absolutely. I think one of the great things about teaching is every single moment you are in a classroom or you are working with young people, you have an opportunity to change how they see the world, how they see themselves, what they're going to do next. You are literally changing the world one moment at a time. You will never know the impact that you have. This is these impacts build the foundations for the lives that our students are going to go on to lead. But it is so absolutely vital, and it's so vital when we're in the classroom or outside of the classroom. If you're a part of the administration, that what you do, you understand that it matters. And it will matter to people that maybe you haven't even met. If you are perhaps talking about a strategy for the school, talking about a strategy for a group of schools, understanding how you're going to go about teaching something, moving students through a process. So it's coming back down to that notion that every single thing matters, and we have to do it all with the intention of ensuring that the students are at the center of that. It's a massive responsibility, but it's a massive blessing as well, to be able to do this kind of job.
Amazing. I absolutely relate to it because, as you said, right, that the very purpose when we look at student as the center of everything, and also looking at student learning outcomes, if that is going to be the core of our teaching and our basis, it's going to definitely be a different ball game, all of it. So I'm going to move towards a little more about when you describe like schools as collections of relationship. What do that mean in practice for how you lead?
I think it's about being present in your environment.
Hi, secondary school teachers. We're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculums. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org.
Did you know that every year, half of disadvantaged children who are top attainers at primary school don't go on to achieve top GCSE maths results? At Axiom Maths, we exist to change that. Our fully funded programme helps schools nurture young mathematicians through weekly face-to-face maths circles, where pupils tackle challenging and exciting problems outside the national curriculum. With just under £3,000 annual funding, expert training and quality resources, we give schools everything they need to inspire the next generation of mathematical thinkers. Want to make a difference? Visit axiommaths.com today and join over 400 schools delivering maths circles across the UK.
Meet 2025 BET Award winner Kialo EDU, the 100% free tool for thoughtful, inclusive classroom discussion. On Kialo, students contribute instantly and simultaneously to create an interactive map of a discussion, deepening their subject knowledge and enhancing their critical thinking skills. Set tasks, track participation, and provide personalized feedback in just a few clicks. And since it's compatible with all your favorite LMS platforms, it slots seamlessly into your existing workflow. Over 1 million educators and students are already using Kialo to make the world a more thoughtful place. Join them today at kialo-edu.com.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
Teachers' pay is back in the news in Northern Ireland after Belfast Live reports that teachers have rejected a proposed pay deal for a second time. The Northern Ireland Teachers' Council, which represents the teaching unions in negotiations with management, said members were still not prepared to accept the 5.5% uplift offer. Teachers rejected an initial offer in February. A new offer was tabled by management last week and included what was described as an enhanced package of commitments around reducing workload. But it was again rejected. Teachers in Northern Ireland have been taking industrial action short of strike during the dispute. Members of several unions have already voted in favour of strike action if the impasse is not resolved. Full details of the story can be found online. In Sunderland, the city's university has had its new £10 million campus officially opened by the Secretary of State for Education, Bridget Phillipson. Phillipson is also the city's MP. The new facility is located at the university's London site, close to Canary Wharf. Set to train the business leaders, financiers and NHS workforce of the future. The report in the Sunderland Echo details commentally positive impact the Sunderland has had on and to see the university expand out. Among academic courses on offer, the new Harbour Exchange campus aims to provide qualifications and opportunities to hundreds of nurses over the next 5 years. Meanwhile, online news and comment site The Tab features research by The Telegraph which suggests that there are more people with depression and anxiety in places with lots of students. According to the online article, 4 cities with Russell Group universities stood out as having high numbers of people seeking support for mental health. Experts have suggested a number of reasons for university students experiencing poor mental health, including the rise of social media, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the cost of living crisis, and other financial worries. The cities included in the report are Leeds, Bristol, Liverpool, and Nottingham. Deadline News Agency also explores this issue. It focuses on Edinburgh University's decision to bring alpacas onto campus in an effort to tackle anxiety. The university holds regular Pause Against Stress sessions where dogs visit students, and alpacas have also returned for a second time. The animals first appeared in 2022 and have returned to support students as they approach their final exam period. Sky News covers new evidence from the Office of the Children's Commissioner for England, which suggests that children who are repeatedly uprooted from their homes go on to achieve fewer GCSEs. The article says that for the first time, research proves the negative impact housing insecurity has on educational attainment. Each additional address move was linked to a fall in achievement of the accepted standard of 5 GCSE passes, including English and Maths at grade 4. Only half of the children who moved 3 times between reception and year 11 went on to achieve the 5, compared to 65% for those with one home address in the same period. This fell to 1 in 10 amongst those who moved 10 times throughout their education. The report goes on to cover the further impact on those moving between a series of temporary accommodation and the links with child poverty and the increasing gap between disadvantaged children and their non-disadvantaged peers. Full details can be found on the Sky News website. Finally, the Mail Online covers the story of 2 parents who sold their family home and quit their jobs to travel the world with their 3 children. The article describes the family of 5 as modern-day nomads who have travelled to Thailand, China, Malaysia and Dubai whilst homeschooling their children. The parents believe their children are better off travelling the world than attending traditional schools, as they have no faith in the UK education system, but that the children do follow the national curriculum. When asked about their children missing out on friendships, both parents said they weren't concerned as the benefits outweighed the downsides. This has been Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
Oh, welcome back, listeners, and Barry too. Before we lost you, we were speaking so passionately about small, meaningful moments in teaching. The idea that we never really know the full impact we are having, especially you said something related to student-centered approach. Also, along with that, you just left you with a question that when you describe schools as collections of relationship, what does that mean in practice for how you lead?
Yeah, so for how I lead, it's about making sure people have all of the opportunities to have relationships with each other. So it's about creating an opportunity for parents to connect with teachers, for students in international schools to connect with one another. That's a really important part of an international school environment where you have 50, 60, 70 different nationalities all in one place, and all of this opportunity, all of this experience that can be shared. And I think it's for me, when you see the relationships grow, that's the mortar between the bricks of the school, and that helps to bring the foundation of what it is you're trying to do. I think as well, when you are moving a school forward, it's really important to try to help people understand your vision, and that what you're trying to do is to increase their chances and the agency that they have, for example, and as being quite intentional about it. Say, look, we want you to meet new people. We want you to go and explore new ideas. So as you as you take that forward, it's about then bringing people into the college. It's about ensuring that everyone in the college is able to be front and center, visible, and that the students have a meaningful relationship with them, not just their classroom teacher, but every
Mhm.
teacher, every member of the team, every member of the administration. And as well, I think when you're talking about international schools, building strong relationships between the academic side of the school and the
Mhm.
business side of the school, especially admissions, is absolutely vital because both sides are really quite important in that institutional sustainability. Without the
Correct.
admissions team, without that way to bring people into a community, your community will wither. And but without the experience that they have in that
Mhm.
community, without the teaching experience, without the learning experience, then again you don't have the reason for those people to be there. So it's about every single possible connection that can be made. It has to be made.
So true. I think I just connect. So, when you say this, the admissions team, and, because we've had end of year now, and we started with the new academic year. I'm sure you've taught in Dubai and you know how it works here.
Yeah.
So, when you say this, I do see that the relationship is not, now just to the teacher and student. It is between the administration, the parents relationship, or even it could be, the support staff, or it could be, there's so many things involved, I think, as we go further. And as you've mentioned, that bringing all in together and supporting each other is so very important. Whether it is even looking at the just mere the admissions team, for that matter, when they start taking in admissions, from the time the student is handed over to us till knowing the school, and getting all things prepped, especially with connecting with the vision of the school. Because I think every school will have their own way of working, and yeah, and getting the best for the children, but yeah, in their own unique way. So yeah, I think that's something that's really bang on to talk about and think about when it comes to being leaders, and looking at leadership from that perspective of getting relationships in place.
I think as
um,
well, yeah, it's about taking the opportunity to really work with the parents. So where an admissions team works with the teaching staff, with the administration staff, it's a fact. Parents coming into a new school, what they don't want is they don't want to sit down and read a brochure. They don't want someone to explain a brochure to them. What they really want to do is they want to meet and talk to people, humans who are going to be working with their children. They want to meet the children who have already gone through this process for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. A school is a community, and when you're joining a community, you don't buy off plan. What you really want to do is you want to see what that community looks like, and in a day to day. It's why the opportunity to, when you have a school like that, for you to build a relationship between current families and new families is so much more powerful than any marketing or school tour or open day could possibly be. Because what they will do is they will be open and honest, and show the potential incoming families, this is what you're buying into. This is the reality of the school. This is why it's so great. But here are the pitfalls, and it's when you're able to show people where those pitfalls are, they then become even stronger, and you can then work with families to see, okay, is this right for you? And I think that's a really important thing to pick up on. Many people will, I think, disagree with me when talking about being honest, open, pitfalls of families coming into to a college. But our job as educators is to make sure we're looking to try and help create success. I would much rather talk to a family and say, you know what, we're not the right place, but these are the things you should be thinking about, and this is how I think you can move forward and create a great opportunity for your child. I don't want people in the school at any cost. I want people to come into a school where they are going to absolutely thrive.
I think that's an amazing thought, or a direction to think on. As you mentioned, many might not agree, but yes, it's very I think, the as you mentioned, it should be like an open book to share things with the new families that are coming in, or because we are looking from, again, going back to the student centered approach, you're looking in for the betterment for the student, you're looking in from the student side, like what will the student take in if it has to, if he or she has to join the school, or for that matter. So I think, yeah, this is a good thing to share on. If we are taking, we do discuss the best parts of what we have to offer, but along with it also, what's lacking or what's not there.
I think
uh,
I think as well, when you're talking about schools, is you have to be. I think you have to be very honest. I'm a big fan
mm,
of brutal honesty about where you are as an institution, what you and where you are as a teacher, where you are as a school leader. If you're leading a
mhm.
school, one of the key things is not to bring in people who are like you. And nobody wants to see a school full of clones, especially not of me. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen me, but I'm 6'10". I mean, I stalk around looking like a walking tree. You don't want kind of bookworm historian Englishman. You don't want a school full of those. What you want is people who are super different. And for me, I've been in this is my third startup school. When we're
Okay.
looking for a founding team, what we're really looking for is to make a list of here are all the things that we're not good at yet, and that forms the job description for all of the people that we're trying to bring onto campus. We have to be self-reflective. We have to say, you know what, I'm not the smartest guy in the room,
Mhm.
but I want the smart people in the room with me, because that's how you then take a school forward. And I think being open and honest about that, and trying to find opportunities for your colleagues to really give of themselves and to create the school that they're in. I think a school is something that is created and recreated. You said start of
Mhm.
the year, after Ramadan there in Dubai, you have to remember that you are dealing with a new set of students, a new set of children, a new set of families, and each of them will have their own ideas about schooling. And each of those little moments that you have within the school will then build the foundation for that school year as it moves forward. It's that Heraclitus idea: no man stands in the same river twice. Well, a school is
Mhm.
never the same the year after than it was today. It's always changing. It's always different.
So true. I think I'm just looking at, just as I again would want to share, it's the end of year, and we've had the PCM, the parent consultation meetings, but we do have something called as, just to talk with parents in between the year, to give a feedback maybe on their students' progress, and like give them insights of where they are and what we are looking forward for. And when these conversations are there, I have seen myself building that relationship with the parents, just to see the better side of the child, and to see the progress together. I mean to say, I feel like even if I'm talking to the mother or the father of the child, I see myself looking at, like a mom to that child, to see the progress. So and when I look at it from that perspective, and I've had these meetings and talks at different points, it has really helped and supported the child at the end of the year. Frankly speaking, you can see the holistic development, you can see the different points the child has improved on, and what we have given. And even while these meetings, we've gone that extra mile to support the child wherever required. So I think these, when you say building the relationships, it could also be with respect to the progress of students, where I feel like I go beyond just like a teacher student relationship, but I look it from a different perspective.
Absolutely. I think the families who are bringing their children into a school, every single parent, their default setting is fear. I mean, it's absolute. It's have I chosen the right school? Am I giving them the right diet? Am I reading enough with them in the evenings? Are they doing the right kind
Mm.
of sport? Do they have the right kind of attitudes? Have I taught them table manners? Are they going to embarrass themselves in front of their first date at the age of 16? All of these things are what we worry about. We worry about all of this. We worry, but most of all, we worry about, are they getting on? Are they happy? Are they fulfilled? Are they doing well in school? Are they becoming a good person? And I think anytime a teacher can connect with a parent and help them understand this is who your child is when they're not in the room with you.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful thing for parents to understand. I know it's is for me as a parent, and I think for the parents that you're working with, giving them an understanding of what it is and being honest about it, being positive about their children, absolutely, but being honest about what they're doing, how they're doing, what they need to do next is so vital. And I think what you're saying in terms of building that relationship with parents absolutely can impact scores and impact grades and impact outcomes when they leave school. And it's so important to do. But on top of that, I think what you can also do is you can humanize the idea of what happens after school by building relationships with those parents. Parents who you can talk to and bring into your school to talk to students, can talk to them on any number of things. But
Yeah.
the most important thing is they are real people doing real things. And I run, and I've done this for many years, careers talks of a sort. I'm not a big fan of the long lecture about law or accountancy or all of these things that people often seem to want their children to become. I'm very, very keen on bringing people in who do interesting jobs and talk to children like they're adults. This is what I asked them to talk about 4 things. I said, tell us what you do, why you love it, how you got there, and what other people can do if they think that's interesting and want to do the same thing. And you should see the impact that has, because it demystifies the world outside of school for these young people. And they suddenly go from the idea of being a doctor or the idea of being an engineer to, I want to do what Javier's mum does. I want to do what Peter's dad does. And it suddenly becomes something that's quite real and achievable, and it's something that they can turn their minds to, and they have a connection to the outside world, and they can also start to build that relationship with that speaker, but also they build a relationship with that idea of their own future, and it becomes less of an abstract and more of a target.
Yeah, I could definitely connect with it because we do have these thematic weeks where we do, invite parents where they give a little bit of clarity. And yeah, the 4 things that you've rightly mentioned, and looking at the future jobs or careers and where they can connect more because they see their friends, parents themselves representing, some profession. And it's so good to again, it's really a delight to see them on campus and learning from each other. So yes, that is, I think we do have these sessions over here as well. And it's taken in the correct, in the right spirit, I mean to say. I just want to go back to something that you mentioned, Barry, about the different nationalities. Like, even here, as you know, we have expats and deal with international community basically. So, in your experience, what are some of like the most effective ways like a school leader can cultivate that sense of belonging in such a culturally diverse environment? Because
It's
I,
uh,
yeah, I just want to add on, like, see, for me, I might not have been in a culture of such different national, but I know friends and colleagues who in school, as you said, no, 60, 70 different nationalities will be there. So how do you think that could help?
how to manage a community like that is
Like that, yeah.
to one recognize that your community is unique. I think every single school in every single part of the world is going to have a unique makeup. So for us, for example, the school at the moment, 50% of our students are Spanish and 50% of our students are from around the world. Actually, fewer than 50% of our students are Spanish. And so it's then understanding, well, what are the languages that are going to be used? And where are the cultures from? And there are easy things to do. For example, so the celebration of different holidays, of different festivals, making sure they're noticed. For example, it was recently the Zoroastrian New Year.
Mhm.
Ramadan is on, so we try and make sure we have an iftar or two for students who are fasting. And we celebrate that. But also, one of the other things we do is we make sure if a student is fasting in an environment that's maybe not set up for fasting, we go and talk to them and say, hey, how's it going? How is your Ramadan? What are you up to? What's the local mosque doing? When they are there late at night, especially in the last 10 days of Ramadan, saying, hey, how was it? How are your parents? And actually connecting with them on the level that you should connect with people when it's that kind of festival and celebration, because it's an important time of the year. And the same thing if we have Jewish students who are celebrating Passover, if there are Hindu students who are celebrating Holi. So all of these things are super, super vital to just connect with on a human basis. I think something else that's really interesting in an international environment is allowing students to use their language. I think
Yeah.
one of the things that often parents are obsessed with, and then when they use that word, obsessed, is English language. And almost to the detriment of their own spoken language, of their first language. One of the things that young people like to do is they have a way of thinking. And I'll give you an example. There's a fantastic higher level math set that we have at the college. And there are two Italian young women, 17, who sit next to each other. And when they talk about mathematics, they talk to each other in Italian. And they help each other understand what it is they're doing. But when they talk to the rest of the class, they will speak in English or sometimes Spanish, depending. We're quite fluid with that. But this idea of translanguaging, of using one language to think in and to try and explain things, and another language to then present, is something that really helps with understanding. But also, it respects where these young people are from. I worked in Dubai for 2 years, and I was amazed when I saw a teacher telling students off for speaking Arabic in the corridor. And why did you do that? It was because they should be speaking English. I was all, but why? Because this is an English school. So, yeah, but what's the benefit of them having a conversation with each other in their second language rather than their first language? And I just think it's something that we miss a lot if we don't recognize the individual and their agency and their strengths and their culture and their language, and trying to celebrate that. This is extreme teaching. This is difficult to do. It's very easy to say everyone speaks French or English or Arabic at school. No exceptions. It's very easy to lay out hard rules that are easy to follow, that you get told off for if you break. It's much harder to say every single student is an individual, brilliant person, and they have an individual and brilliant way of thinking and an individual, brilliant way of communicating. And I'm going to let them figure that out, and I'm going to help them do that. And I think that's where the future lies. I think that's where we need to be thinking. Especially where students are coming from places where their language is perhaps a minority. We're going to lose, probably 1,000 languages by the end of the century because people will stop speaking them.
Stop speaking.
Absolutely, and we're going to miss that. We're going to miss a lot of that culture, a lot of that, of the poetry and the history of these cultures. I think English is a great international language, but I want my children to speak at least 3 or 4 others, because otherwise we miss out on so much. I think it's the Nelson Mandela quote, isn't it? If you speak to a man in his language, that's where you hit home. Or the Wittgenstein idea of the limits of my language are the limits of my world, and you will communicate with people better in their language than you will in your own. And I think there's a reticence in some places in the world to hire people who speak English as a second language as teachers, which I fundamentally disagree with. Fundamentally, I think teaching is a skill, and I think some of the best English teachers I've worked with, one was from Thailand, another is Hungarian, amazing practitioners. I don't agree with this idea of I must hire from the UK, South Africa, America, Australia, Ireland. I think it's nonsensical. I think what you want is fantastic teachers who care about the children, who are caring, kind, compassionate, are going to help those children move on, not people who have the right accent. That's a thin veneer, which once cracked, you see what's underneath.
Correct.
Sorry, I'm becoming quite controversial, I can tell.
No, but I think something that is so true. If you're teaching the passion, as you rightly mentioned, passion, compassion, and especially pedagogical practices, if those are in place, and if you see, you even I have worked with, so many great educators who have, from different parts of the world, and they've been great teachers, as you mentioned. And I'm just going to go to my next segment, which I had in mind, is empowering educators, for that matter. So are we truly empowering teachers, or just delegating more work with a nicer language? What would be your take on it,
Are
when we
we
look at it as a
empowering
team?
educators, or are we delegating more work? I'm quite keen on making sure people understand that teaching is a job. So I think in some cases, the whole idea of empowering educators is something where it's being foisted onto teachers. I think teachers are the kind of people who will try and do as much as they can. And I think sometimes that's right, but sometimes that's wrong. I think it's absolutely vital that as a school leader, I recognize when people are about to burn out. In fact, or if they're anywhere close to that, I think it's absolutely vital that we keep an eye on the work that people are doing, that we manage that workload, because if one person is doing all of this, then what happens is, it's not done very well. And what happens is the outcome for the children is less. So I'd much rather see people take a day off. I'd much rather see people take a step back and focus on what they're passionate about, what they do really well, than to, presenteeism or to do that extra X or Y. I think in some cases, and this is, when you look at, it really depends on the school and the leadership of the school. I'm very lucky in working in, with the school that I work with. I think, I work with people who really understand the value of education. I think in some places, though, if the bottom line is the most important thing for the people running the school, if the profit line is the most important thing for the people running the school, then that can pose problems for the school leadership, and then also for the teachers.
Okay, so I think going forward, I would just take a short, quick break, Barry, and get back on a few more questions to throw on you and get the conversation going. And I'm so glad that we're touching upon simple and yet important, impactful points, whether it is about again student centered, whether it is about empowering educators in the right manner that you've just highlighted, and also it is about those relationships that we are building in schools. So leadership is like, this is, I think this is a different side to leadership, all of it, that even I'm learning today. So we'll get back to this conversation after a quick short break.
Hi secondary school teachers, we're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculums. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org.
Did you know that every year, half of disadvantaged children who are top attainers at primary school don't go on to achieve top GCSE maths results? At Axiom Maths, we exist to change that. Our fully funded programme helps schools nurture young mathematicians through weekly face-to-face maths circles, where pupils tackle challenging and exciting problems outside the national curriculum. With just under £3,000 annual funding, expert training and quality resources, We give schools everything they need to inspire the next generation of mathematical thinkers. Want to make a difference? Visit axiommaths.com today and join over 400 schools delivering math circles across the UK.
Meet 2025 BET Award winner Kialo EDU, the 100% free tool for thoughtful, inclusive classroom discussion. On Kialo, students contribute instantly and simultaneously to create an interactive map of a discussion, deepening their subject knowledge and enhancing their critical thinking skills. Set tasks, track participation, and provide personalised feedback in just a few clicks. And since it's compatible with all your favourite LMS platforms, it slots seamlessly into your existing workflow. Over 1 million educators and students are already using Kialo to make the world a more thoughtful place. Join them today at kialo-edu.com.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Welcome back to the Saturday lunch show on Teachers Talk Radio. I'm here with the insightful Barry Cooper, and we've been unpacking what it truly means to lead with purpose through relationship, realism, and reflection. Barry, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Before the break, we raised an important point. Effective leadership isn't about overloading people or chasing productivity. It's about protecting matters, well-being, passion, and student outcomes. So, as we move forward, I would like to just go to a different segment, all of it now, like from vision to action. Okay. So
Okay.
I'm going to look at now something like there's been a growing trend towards visionary leadership, but how do we avoid it becoming performance over purpose?
Visionary leadership. It depends on what the vision is. My vision is that I have a school of happy students, of really motivated staff and colleagues, and families who understand what we're trying to do, and that the students themselves get something greater out of school than the sum of the parts. I think there's a massive performative element sometimes, especially in schools that are private. I think there are many amazing head teachers and teachers around the world who do brilliant jobs, and I think sometimes that gets kind of hidden away in some of these kind of buzzwords and things like that.
Mhm.
I think the vision that you have for a school. So, I mean, I'll take for us, for example, our vision for the school is very simple. Is we want our students to come away to be able to face the world, a world of changing world with confidence, and to have the agency to step forward and to take action themselves. And the way we go
Mhm.
about doing that is we go about doing that by working with them individually, by giving them opportunities from the very base level within classrooms to across the school to locally, sometimes nationally and internationally, to really push themselves and create opportunities for themselves and for others. I think that I don't know what visionary leadership means to you, though. I have an idea about it. I mean, when you say visionary leadership, what are you really thinking about?
Yeah, I'm looking at the vision for the school, as you mentioned. Like when I'm looking at the children or the students who are under our care. So, what do we look for them towards their future?
Yeah, so I think a lot of, especially when you're looking at a new school, if you're sending a child to a school, if you're perhaps you're looking at working with a new school, one of the key things is not to look at the website, but rather to connect with and try to meet and understand, from the people who are actually doing it. I think that's the real kind of challenge, and that will give you a much better sense of what the school is like. I think for me, my approach to leadership is a combination of, I suppose, a little bit democratic leadership, a little bit of kind of hands-on leadership, a little bit of visionary leadership. I think everyone, when they're trying to kind of move an organization forward, has their own approach. I think if I believe in anything, I believe in people. I believe in students, my colleagues, and the families that trust us. I believe in their capacity to surprise us and to do so much more than perhaps they even thought possible. But I also believe that the young people we work with are often fighting battles. Being a teenager, for example, is not an easy thing. I think sometimes they're fighting battles we can't see, which is even tougher for us when we're trying to work with them. And I think it's tougher for them still is when they're fighting battles that maybe they're not aware they're actually fighting, where they haven't got that sense of self yet, where they don't have that self-awareness to say, okay, I'm having trouble here. And that's what we want to try and inculcate in our students, to give them the ability to understand themselves and then to understand the world.
Basically, yeah, an exposure, and to connect with real world is something, yeah, that we are looking. I'm getting the your point of view, especially when you mentioned even in the start, where the parents come in and share their professions, or even if it is something so much to connect with real world. And again, something that is there in my mind is this buzzword of innovation. I think every school talks about it, and trying to balance with it, with innovation, with consistency. And for me, innovation could be as simple as if a child is able to problem solve a real world situation, or
Absolutely. I
and
think,
come up.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, innovation is one of these things where we are. It's becoming synonymous with gadgets and online platforms
Yeah.
and all that sort of
Mhm.
thing. The book was innovation. Ink was innovation. So I think you're absolutely right. Where if you can get a young person in a position where they're solving a real world problem. This is something else we do. We have an entrepreneurship project connected with
Mm.
IE University, and the students do it for about 2 months. So we break the timetable down, and they have lectures from real entrepreneurs and from university professors, and they run a sprint and they create a business, and they get to pitch it, and the winners then go to a university pitch meeting where university students are pitching their own business ideas, and our students stand there alongside them and pitch theirs. And it's about practicality, I think, is what you were saying earlier, and I think that's absolutely right. Getting people doing things, and also doing things in different ways. I mean, simple example. Um, when you think about teaching, you think about approaches to learning. One of the approaches to learning for the IB, communication. But how do we communicate? How do we get people thinking differently about communication? And we have all this technology. Every student has an iPhone. Every student has TikTok.
Mhm.
So I teach a history course, and I ask them to go and make me a TikTok. But I asked them to go and make me a TikTok explaining Marxist historiographical theory, and they look at me like I'm insane. But what they then do is they break it down. They take this complex idea, they break it down, and they produce a 60-second video. And some of these things are brilliant, but they take a 60-second video and they break it down and they explain to me this philosophical approach to history in a really interesting way. And it's nothing to do with me wanting them to be on TikTok, although they're quite funny. I don't use this on my marketing for the school or anything like that. It's about just
Uh-huh.
getting them trying to think about communicating in different ways. So I ask them to just even when they're writing, what kind of technology are they using? Do they find it easier to speak or to write or to read or note? So all of these things you have to. I think teachers are natural innovators. And I think what we don't understand about teaching, people who are listening and maybe who are not teachers, every single child is seen by a teacher, and the response that teacher has to that child will be different. Depending on what their needs are. And they will be innovating within that classroom to try to help them be just a little bit better at the end of the class than they were at the start. And that could be as simple as trying to get them to see something in a different way, trying to write something in a different way. Maybe for the younger kids, just how they're holding their pencil. Maybe it's really all about consistent understanding of the relationship between the teacher and the student, but consistent changes, just small increments that help us get better every day.
And yeah, so true. I when I now have so many, light bulb moments in class with my children, and it's like it's so different, and that feeling itself, that from a child who was not able to read at all, and one day starts reading independently. It's just those, small moments that really change so much. And I just took that one example, but even, we have these different real world scenario games that we play with children, and they'll come up with brilliant solutions. So I think, as you mentioned, it depends how the teacher takes it in their lessons, and how every child in its own way is progressing from their own starting points. That is also something to celebrate. I think, yeah. Just to move forward on some, my last segment would be is the global perspective, Barry, because I know you've worked in schools across the world. So I just have certain, like, one or two questions related to it. So what are the, like, universal truths have you observed in effective school leadership?
um, Children are the same wherever you go. Children all
Correct.
want
Yeah.
to be cared about. They want to work with kind teachers who care about them. They all want to be proud of what they do. They all want people to see and understand and recognize, who they are and what they're attempting to do. I think from my perspective, in terms of teachers, I think teachers, I mean, school students are all the same, but on top of that, they're all different. And every single child that you find will find a way to surprise you. Every single child you find will find a way to move you. The I mean the my I mean Some of my favorite interactions the last few years working here, I've had students who have been professional sports people, and while trying to do an IB, which is incredibly difficult. I've had students who set up their own charity. I've got one at the moment who's attempting to set up his own school in Georgia. An amazing young man. I've one who's she's a year into managing a charity to do with anorexia. We have another one who's taken over. She's the third chairwoman of a school charity that was set up by students in the very first year. But on top of that, it's also the little interactions that you see there. And if you, as a school leader or as a teacher, inculcate a culture of kindness, if you speak to your students and look them in the eye, if you say good morning to everybody as you pass them, if you show that you are willing to sit down and talk and give time, then other people start to do it too. And you find that the community itself is one that gives. And that's not just teachers to students, but that's teachers to the families. It's the families to the students. It's the students to each other. Um, I think. I think for me, the advice I would always give to people working internationally is to make sure you really celebrate the differences that you're seeing, because that's what makes an international environment so fascinating, so brilliant, and gives you so many opportunities to discuss new ideas and show the young people you have in your care the world without even moving from your classroom.
So beautiful that thought is, that, I'm going to take and stick to something that is the word kindness. And I really connect to it, because I also do see that in our day to day being an educator. I do see how these values, with children, build up long lasting connections. So, and that brings us to the end of what has been a truly rich and thought provoking show on today's Saturday's lunch show with me, Famida, Teachers Talk Radio. Barry, thank you for sharing your insights, from leading with humility and building intentional relationships to redefining what purposeful leadership looks like in today's global schools. You've given us, even me especially, so much to reflect on. Anything that you want to say to our listeners before I end it?
I would say if you're a teacher, thank you very much for everything you do every day, because it's an amazing privilege to work in education. I think education is a team sport, and when you look around a common room, to a group of teachers, you realize just how fantastic your teammates are. So, as they say in Spain, ánimo. Keep it up. And I'm always very willing to kind of reach out, chat, connect with teachers around the world. I think you can only learn from each other. So have a fantastic Saturday. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, Famida. And I hope you have a fantastic Eid.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Same to you. And I also take this as a compliment, as I'm also an educator. So I really thank you for what all you said. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If there's one thing to take away, it's that school leadership isn't just about system, it's about people, purpose, and creating space for every learner to thrive. We'll be back next Saturday with another powerful conversation. Until then, stay purposeful, stay curious, and as always, keep leading with heart. Thank you, Barry, and thank you to all our listeners.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.